Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa salatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursaleen Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We are still talking about Musa alayhi salam, and as we said, prophets and messengers are our role models. They lived a simple life. They didn't have any ulterior motives. Everything they did it for the sake of Allah first, and then to save humanity. Wheresoever there was injustice, they would fight for the rights of the people who were mistreated, whether those people were from their religion or not. So to prove to us that as human beings, we have to care about the needs of others, we have to save others. And when we were talking about jihad, when you save life, this is an aspect of jihad. When you take care of a person who is less advantaged than you are, this is jihad. So the prophets and messengers performed jihad in different ways, seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and empathizing with the human beings they were dealing with. So we reached a point whereby Musa alayhi salam, on his journey from Egypt to an anonymous destination, he didn't know where he was going, but because they were pursuing him and someone advised him to leave, so he was going, but he didn't know where he was going. So he reached a water well where he found people crowded over the well, trying to water their flocks of sheep and goats, and he saw two women who were holding back their flock of sheep and goats, and upon asking them, they said that their father was an old man and they were the only ones helping him, and they didn't want to be crowded with the men. So they were waiting until the men were finished, then they would also water their flocks of sheep and goats. So because Musa was a magnanimous person, he was not yet appointed as a prophet, but the signs of prophethood would be seen in his behavior, in how he treated people, in how he fought for the rights of the disadvantaged. So Musa alayhi salam decided to help them to water their flock of sheep and goats, and then he went under a tree to rest, and he was supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of them heard him supplicating to Allah that he was in need of help, because as we said, he hadn't eaten for some time. He was thirsty, dehydrated, and even his shoes had been torn apart because of a long journey traveling on foot. So Musa alayhi salam asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help him indirectly. So one of the ladies heard what Musa was saying, and she went to tell her father the story, and then the father sent her to go and invite Musa to his house so that he could reward him for what he did. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about this generally in these verses, and then we will try to analyze each and every situation after reciting verses of the noble Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَجَاءَتْهُ إِحْدَاهُمَا تَمْشِي عَلَى اسْتِحْيَاءٍ قالت إن أبي يدعوك ليجزيك أجر ما سقيت لنا فلما جاءه وقص عليه القصص قال لا تخف نجوت من القوم الظالمين قالت إحداهما يا أبت استأجره إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين قال إني أريد أن أنكحك إحدى ابنتي هاتين على أن تأجرني 8 حجج فإن أتممت 10 فمن عندك وما أريد أن أشق عليك ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصالحين قال ذلك بيني وبينك أيما الأجلين قضيت فلا عدوان علي والله على ما نقول وكيل. So the translation is, one of the two women then came back to him, to Moses, walking shyly. She said, truly my father invites you to reward you for watering our flock for us. So when he came to him, to her father, and related to him the story of his escape from Egypt, the father of those two ladies, according to some narrations, majority of the scholars say it was Shuaib, a prophet himself, told Musa alayhi salam, have no fear, you've been delivered from the wrongdoing and uninhibited people who are unjust and rebellious. One of the two women said, my dear father, hire him. Indeed, the best man you could hire is one like him who is strong and trustworthy. The father said, I wish to marry off to you one of these two daughters of mine, provided you serve me for 8 years. But if you decide to complete 10 years, then it will be a favor from you to me. However, I do not intend to place you under difficulty. If Allah wills, you'll find me to be among the righteous people. Moses said, this is agreed upon between me and you. Whichever of the two terms I fulfill, then I will not come under any duress, and Allah is surely a guardian over all that we say. So this is, in brief, a conversation that happened between Musa and Prophet Shuaib. So due to the fact that the two sisters went back home early, their father was very surprised. They related to him the incident, after which he asked one of them to return and bring Musa home. So actually those two women, whenever they went to water their flock of sheep and goats, they would delay because they had to wait for the men to go so that they would water their flock of sheep. And according to some narrations, they were benefiting from the leftovers of the sheep of the shepherds who had left. So it would take them time to go back home. But this time around, because Musa alayhi salam helped them, the father was surprised. How come you came early today? And actually this is one of the lessons to show that a caring father will always ask, especially if he has girls. So every time they go, they come late. But this time around they came early, so he had to ask them to know what happened to them, because he is a father and they are girls. So they told him that they told him the story of Musa alayhi salam, and he was curious to see Musa. He wanted to reward him. So what do we understand from this? A father sending her two girls because he doesn't have a boy. He's an old man, he can't do the chores, the girls are going, and this time around they come early, and he's asking them about the reason for that. What do we learn from this? Any lessons that we learn as parents? So he's responsible. He wants to know when they are late, when they are early. He wants to know what happened, because this is the case of a father or mother. They are concerned about the welfare of their children. They are concerned about the welfare of those under their care. So he was caring. He wanted to know. He was curious, because most of the time they were always late. And when something unusual happens, then we have to ask. Maybe there was a problem. Maybe there was a mistake. Maybe we didn't advise them well. So as a father, he was concerned. And actually some children, whenever their father are curious to know their situations, they feel bad that you are interfering into their affairs. But due to their experience, they want to save you, because they are concerned about you. They don't want you to go through some problems which they went through. So they want to make a shortcut for you. So if they keep asking you questions, it's because they love you. It's because they are concerned about you. So here Shuaib, who was the father of those two girls, according to many scholars and historians, he asked one of them to return and bring Musa. So imagine, someone is a father of two girls. He sends one of them alone to go and come back with a man. What do you understand from this? So Shuaib is a prophet. He has two daughters. They used to go to water the sheep and goats, and they used to delay for so many reasons. This time around they come early, and they tell them that they found a magnanimous man who helped them to do the job. So he's curious to see the man, and he sends one of them to go back and bring the man to his house. What do we learn from this? He liked him. So from the way they narrated to him the story, he liked Musa. And also he trusted him. Again, what else? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he was thinking it was opportunity to ask him as a husband.
Mm-hmm. So since he was a good man, magnanimous man, strong, who would take care of him and take care of the family, so he was eager to see him and see him if he qualified to marry one of his daughters. What else? So he trusted his daughter, because it's not easy to send your own daughter to go and come with a man, especially in many cultures. It's very difficult, let alone sending her to come with a man, even talking to a man. So it rarely happens that a father would allow his daughter to call someone about an issue. So this means he trusted her. And we learn from this lesson, that if you are a good person, you are a trustworthy person yourself, it's easy to trust others. But if you are not trustworthy, you cannot trust others. This is why the Prophet ﷺ says, "Man qala halaka an-nasu fahuwa ahlakhum." So whoever discredits people, saying people are not loyal, people are corrupted, people are this and that, he himself is corrupt. So the way you view yourself, this is how you judge others. So that man Shuaib trusted his daughter. What else? What else? He trusted his daughter. From the way they described Musa, he liked Musa, he wanted to see him. What else? Yes, sister? Yes, yeah, maybe he had the intention. From the description they gave him, so he wanted her to marry that daughter, so he wanted to send her to bring him so that she can observe him more, see more qualities that would qualify him to marry her. What else? He also trusted Musa alayhi salam, as we said, and most importantly, because he was a righteous person and Musa was a righteous person, he knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would protect her and nothing bad would happen to her on the way. So he had all confidence to send her to go and bring Musa alayhi salam to his house. So the woman approached Musa alayhi salam shyly and delivered to him the message. She said, قالت إن أبي يدعوك ليجزيك أجر ما سقيت لنا. So the translation is, she said, truly my father invites you in order to reward you for watering our flock for us. Actually, rewarding a person who does you a favor is among the basic teachings of Islam. It's very, very important. If you don't have anything with which to reward a person who did you a favor, at least pray for him. So many people who do them a favor, you don't get even a thank you. And in Islam, we prefer saying Jazakallahu khairan. If someone does you a favor, you don't have anything to pay, Jazakallahu khairan is even better, because you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward him well. Yes, you can say thank you, but will thank you add anything? Jazakallahu khairan, you're asking Allah, you're supplicating to Allah to reward him well. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He rewards someone, it will be wholesome. It will be complete, a complete reward in different aspects. So we put it into perspective that whenever someone does you a favor, even if it's your spouse, husband, wife, children, you still have to reward them. So the Prophet ﷺ, in a hadith that was narrated by An-Nu'man ibn Bashir, he said, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال التحدث بنعمة الله شكر وتركها كفر ومن لا يشكر القليل لا يشكر الكثير ومن لا يشكر الناس لا يشكر الله والجماعة بركة والفرقة عذاب. So حسنه الألباني. So An-Nu'man ibn Bashir narrated that the Messenger of Allah said, talking about Allah's bounties is gratitude, and eschewing it is ingratitude. And whoever isn't thankful for small favors done to him or her isn't grateful for big ones. And whoever doesn't thank people doesn't thank Allah. Moreover, being with the community brings blessings and disunity causes punishment. So in this hadith we are learning a lot of lessons. First of all, you have to talk about the blessings and bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given you, especially if you are talking to people whom you trust. Because in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, beware of sharing your success with people whom you don't trust, because they might plot against you. So if you trust people and you have been blessed with something, share the good news with them. This is among the signs of showing gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And number two, if you do not talk about the blessings and bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a sign of ingratitude. So some people, for example, two people are friends. Both of them are looking for a job. One of them gets a job and he doesn't inform the other, because he feels if he informs the other, maybe the other will also go there to look for a job, or maybe the other will be jealous or this and that. So why do you hide it? If you are both looking for a job, give good news to the other. This will give him or her motivation also to go and look for a job. Advise them. But it happens frequently, or it mostly happens, that two people who seem to be friends, both of them are in a problem, in a predicament. When one gets solutions, he hides it from others. They don't like others to know. So yet, they claim to be friends. So sharing with each other the blessings that you have is part of being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, be careful to whom you're talking to about your favors and blessings. And وَمَنْ لَا يَشْكُرِ الْقَلِيلِ لَا يَشْكُرُ الْكَثِيرِ. So if someone isn't grateful for small favors, for small gifts that you give them, they will never be grateful for big ones. So this means it's a behavior. So when someone gives you a gift, it's not about the gift. It's about the fact that this person is remembering you. That this person wanted at least to prove to you that whenever you are not with me, I am thinking about you. It's not the value of the gift. It's about the remembrance of this person. So if someone gives you something small, if someone does you a favor, you didn't pay for it, you didn't employ him to do it, then you have to be grateful, even if it's a small favor. Because if you have the habit of being ungrateful for small favors, even if you get big ones, you can't be grateful. So it's a training. Train yourself to be thanking people whenever they do you small favors. And actually, If, for example, someone does you a small favor, if someone brings you a small gift, and you show gratitude to this person, and this person sees that you are extremely happy, this will be a motivation for him or her the next time to bring you a bigger gift, to do you a bigger favor, because you showed signs of gratitude. But if you don't, then they will think that you are an ingrate, so they will not be motivated to do good to you. وَمَنْ لَا يَشْكُرِ النَّاسَ لَا يَشْكُرِ اللَّهِ. So you can't say that I'm always grateful to Allah. What proves is to be grateful to the people. The Prophet says, if you are not grateful to the people who do you favors, you can't be grateful to Allah, because you're dealing with people in your life, you're interacting with people. You don't see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although you believe in Him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He blesses you, it comes through human beings. So if this human being has done you a favor, or this human being has brought you something that was sent to you by somebody, you have to thank him, because he has been sincere, he has been faithful. How many people, for example, you give them something to take to someone, they use it, or they lose it. So the act of this person being faithful to you to bring you something that was given by somebody else, it requires gratitude. So if, for example, you are expecting someone from someone, and he sends it with another person who is a conduit between you and that person, you have to thank him as well, because he's a good person to come to you. Otherwise, he would have lied and said it got lost. So all in all, we have to thank people who do us favors, whether they are Muslims or not. Any human being that does you a favor, you have to thank them, and this will be a sign of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wal jama'atu barakah. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is encouraging us to stay united. If we stay united, Allah will bless us. If we stay united, we'll be stronger. If we stay united, enemies will be afraid of us. But if we are disunited, then it will be easy for the enemies to prey on us, and we will lose the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Shuaib, a prophet, a messenger of Allah, is teaching us a lesson. Although no one asked Musa to help his daughters, and although he wasn't there, but when his daughters narrated the story to him, he was curious to meet Musa and reward him. So this applies to us. If, for example, your son comes back home and says, you know, I was trying to cross the road, there was traffic jam, it was difficult for me, an old man came and helped me to cross over, then you have to thank the man who helped your son. So whoever does you a favor, or to your son, to your relative, thank them. Be like Shuaib. Or, for example, your son comes home and says a teacher gave him a gift. So maybe your son likes to read novels, books, and the teacher knows the books that he likes. So the teacher brought him a book, so you have to call the teacher and thank him for that. So this will motivate the teacher to do more, and most importantly, you're getting rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for being grateful to someone who did a favor to your son. So we shouldn't underestimate the small favors that people do to us, or people do to our relatives, or people do to our friends. So this is a lesson that we learn from Shuaib alayhi salam. So another hadith that was narrated by Abdullah bin Umar, he said, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من استعاذ بالله فأعذوه ومن سأل بالله فأعطوه ومن دعاكم فأجيبوه ومن صنع إليكم معروفا فكافئوه فإن لم تجدوا ما تكافئوه فادعوا له حتى تروا أنكم قد كافأتموه. So Abdullah bin Umar narrated that the Messenger of Allah said, whoever seeks your protection in the name of Allah, grant it to him. You know, in Jahiliyyah, before the advent of the Prophet ﷺ, although the people were polytheists, they didn't care about anything related to God, they didn't know anything about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it was about petty politics and ulterior motives. If you had the chance to seek protection of any of those families that were powerful, especially if you were threatened, they would grant it to you. And this was the people of Jahiliyyah. So this was among the merits that they heard before even they became Muslims. Generosity and protecting a threatened guest. They would make sure that they protected you, and they would go even to war protecting a stranger who sought protection in their houses or in their family. So if this is among the traits of the people of Jahiliyyah, what about us Muslims? So the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us a lesson here, that whoever seeks your protection in the name of Allah, grant it to him. Whoever begs in the name of Allah, give to him what he asks for. If anyone comes to beg and he says, Wallahi, I don't have food, this and that, give him what he wants. And if you don't have anything to give him, at least give him good words. Moreover, whoever does you a favor, pay him. And if you are unable to pay him, then supplicate for him until you feel sure that you've requited him adequately. So if you don't have anything to pay someone who has done you a favor, if you don't have anything to pay someone who has brought you a gift, then pray for him. And actually prayer is even better than reciprocating the gift, because you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward him with what's more. So Musa alayhi salam was not expecting any reward. Musa alayhi salam was not expecting to marry any of those two girls, but because Shuaib was a prophet, he knows all these virtues, which are virtues of prophets and righteous people. So he wanted to teach Moses a lesson, of course, which Moses knew, but he wanted to reinforce this great teaching to those who believed in him, those who believed in Moses, and those who believe in the Prophet ﷺ, to reward someone who does you a favor, or to reward someone who does your relative a favor. So the Prophet tells us here it's very important to reward someone. If you can't, then make dua. It's not difficult to make dua for someone. And actually, if you don't have, you can say it in your language. If it's difficult for you to make dua, just say Jazakallahu khairan. This is enough. Actually, the Prophet ﷺ says, if someone does you a favor and you say Jazakallahu khairan, you've adequately repaid him, because this statement, this dua is very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make sure he rewards him on your behalf. But even if you say Jazakallah khairan, it's better for you to reward him also, or her, because this is a way of encouragement for them to continue doing you favors. And actually some people underestimate it. You know, some people say, you know, I have everything. What do I expect from this and that one? You might underestimate someone, and this person might get classified information in which people are plotting against you. So if you are grateful to this person, he will come to you and alert you that beware, there is something that's going to happen. Don't do this, or don't take this road, don't take this path. So there are many ways in which a human being can save your life. So do not underestimate do not underestimate people whom you think that you are better than. And actually, most successful companies, they tell us, according to management, those most successful companies, they take advice even from the people doing the menial jobs, cleaners, cooks, among others. They take their advice, and by implementing this advice, they become successful. So you can't underestimate a human being. All in all, we need to thank people. So there is a quote here which says, appreciate what you have, where you are, and who you are with this moment. Appreciate what you are, where you are, and who you are with this moment. So this moment, appreciate where you are this moment, who you are this moment, and who you are with. And actually, when we say who you are with, it means the people around you, both of whom are with you learning about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the angels are praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His mercy upon all of you learning about Him. But most importantly, appreciating those who are with you, you are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are with angels. So appreciate the fact that you are in the close companionship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, close companionship with the angels. So in such a situation, you have to appreciate it. So appreciation is very important, to appreciate Allah, to appreciate Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to appreciate each and everyone who does you a favor. So Musa alayhi salam goes with the lady. He didn't refuse, he didn't hesitate, he went with her. And actually Musa needed a company, he needed someone to talk to. And Musa also being a prophet, when he saw that this girl is coming to him, inviting him. And actually another lesson that the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us, if you are invited by someone, accept the invitation. So this is among the rights of a believer, that if he invites you, do not hesitate to go. You know, some people have the tendency, they want always to invite you, they want you to visit them always, but when you invite them, they don't want to go. Maybe because their house is better than yours, their apartment is bigger, yours is small, maybe they don't trust your food or this or that. But it's among the teachings of Islam that if a Muslim invites you to his home or anywhere else, you have to accept the invitation. It's the right of a believer. Min huquq al-Muslimin. It's among the rights of the believers. So Musa alayhi salam wasn't it a prophet, but as we said before, prophets were sinless even before they were appointed prophets. So he knows it's compulsory for him to answer the call. If they invite him, he has to go. Although he had problems, but the major reason for him to go, because he knows if someone invites you, so it's necessary for you to go. Especially that not so many people appreciate what you do. So for the fact that Shuaib appreciated, Musa recognized that this is an extraordinary person, because so many people do not appreciate, so many people don't care. So Musa was ready to go, and he did. He did go. So Moses went with her to her home to meet her father. At the beginning, as she was leading him to her home, he told her, walk behind me. When it's time to change the path, just throw a pebble on that path and I will know where to go. So at the beginning, she was in front of him. So Musa says, no, walk behind me. And if you need to change the path, then throw a pebble, a small stone. I will know that now we have to change the path. I'm going to ask, what were the reasons why Musa alayhi salam did not allow this woman to lead him from front? He wanted her to lead him from the back. First of all, let's share these verses of the noble Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ ذَلِكَ أَزْكَى لَهُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا يَصْنَعُونَ وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ وَيَحْفَظْنَ فُرُوجَهُنَّ. Say to the believing men, O Prophet, that they should lower their gaze from women that are forbidden to them, so women that they can marry, who are not their close relatives, and safeguard the chastity of their secret parts. That is purer for them. Indeed, Allah is all aware of all that they do. And say to the believing women as well that they should lower their gaze from men that are forbidden to them and safeguard the chastity of their secret parts. In a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ was advising Ali ibn Abi Talib, his cousin. He said, Ya Ali, لا تتبع النظرة النظرة فإنما لك النظرة الأولى وليست لك الآخرة. So Buraida bin al-Husayb, one of the bona fide companions of the Prophet ﷺ, said that the Prophet ﷺ advised Ali saying this, O Ali, do not give a second look after the first unintended glance, because while you are not to blame for the first look, you are held accountable for the second intended look. So for example, you are walking, suddenly your eyes come in contact with the eyes of a woman who is not related to you, whom you don't know. So according to Islam, that first look which you didn't intend, you're forgiven. But if you continuously stare at her, then it's a sin. And you know the reason why this verse was revealed? Some interpreters of the Quran say that one guy in Medina was sitting around a wall, and some women were passing by and he was staring at them. So one special woman passed by who was extremely beautiful, and he continuously stared at her and he was following her until he became unconscious and his head hit a wall. He was injured. So when he went to the Prophet ﷺ to narrate to him this incident, this verse was revealed. قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this verse because of the incident that had happened to a man among the inhabitants of Medina. So this is the Quran. Musa alayhi salam is going to be a prophet. So how will he tell people not to gaze at women, not to stare at women, yet they know his story? They would say, you know, even if you are a prophet, we know your story. You were walking behind the woman. Why? So Musa alayhi salam doesn't do that to be a role model to others. So what are the reasons why Musa alayhi salam decided to be led from behind? So the woman at the beginning was leading him from the front, but Musa says, no, you lead from behind. What are the reasons? So he didn't want to look at her, because as a prophet, as a messenger, he wants to be a role model. This doesn't mean that if Musa looked at her, he would have admired her. You know, prophets and messengers are people of strong resolve. And actually Musa is among ulul azmi min ar-rusul. Ulul azm means prophets and messengers of strong resolve. So they were principled, well-mannered. They went through a lot of challenges, but their iman, their faith didn't flinch an inch. The more they were challenged, the more their faith became stronger. So Musa wouldn't have liked her, wouldn't have felt about her, but he just wanted to preserve his modesty, to preserve his virtuousness. So he didn't want to look at her, and This saved him a lot, because this is one of the reasons why she asked her father to employ him, saying that he was a trustworthy man when he asked her to lead from behind. So she noticed from this behavior that this man is trustworthy. And this was one of the qualifications that qualified him to marry her and to be employed by her father. So if we implement the teachings of Islam wholeheartedly for the sake of Allah, we get rewarded here on earth. Musa was doing that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But on top of getting rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he also got mundane benefits. What else? He didn't want to look at her, set an example. What else? For her protection. So as a man, he's working in front of a woman. If anyone comes to attack him, he will be there to defend her. And actually, when those experts say that when you work with someone whom you want to protect, they have to be on your right side, because easily you can defend them. So Musa wants to protect her. She's a woman. He's in a strange land. He doesn't know what will happen. So he asks her to go behind, so that if there is any danger, he will be the first man to face the danger, protecting her. What else? So because men are protectors and guardians of women, so he's teaching us a lesson here as men, that if you are a man, you are to protect your wife. And actually, when I teach marriage courses, I tell the men that you have to protect your wife from two things: from fear and hunger. So make sure you provide for her everything she needs, and make sure she's not afraid. Make sure you protect her. So don't, for example, you are in a dangerous situation. Maybe it's during wartime, and then someone knocks at the door and you send your wife. So the man has to be there. You have to protect your wife from fear and hunger. So Musa alayhi salam wanted to protect this woman. What else? Yes, sister? He respected her. Yeah, this was a sign of respect for him, to let her walk behind him. What else? Yes, sister? Yeah, the reputation. This is a very big point, because in that culture, it would be weird for a man to walk with a strange woman whom he doesn't know, and people knew each other. So Musa wanted to protect his reputation and the reputation of that woman. They would say that, see, the daughter of so-and-so is walking with strangers. So it was protecting the reputation of Musa, the reputation of the woman, and the reputation of the family of that woman, which is very important until now in many cultures. And this is why, again, I tell people in marriage courses, it's not compulsory, but it's recommended that after you marry, you do a party, you invite people. One of the reasons, depending on the culture, you are announcing to the people that now she's my wife. If you see me working with her, don't spread rumors. Because, some people, without even investigating, when they see something, they are quick to spread rumors. We saw so-and-so working with so-and-so, without even verifying the truth. So when you're making a party, there's so many reasons that I share with the people. One of them is to announce to the people that now she's mine, now he's mine. Also, maybe some people are thinking of asking her hand in marriage. So you're telling them she's already married, don't disturb her. And the man is telling women, I'm already married, don't disturb me. So it was also a way, as the sister said, of protecting the honor and dignity of Musa, that woman, and the family of the woman. What else? To give her confidence. Psychologically, it has been proven psychologically that women don't like men walking behind them. And I've seen it. For example, sometimes after the class here, a woman is going up on the steps, and she sees me or someone else. She would backtrack and wait until you go. She will let you go first. So psychologically, not everywhere. Yeah, and you know what? When they do studies psychologically, they bring samples from all over. But again, they say this is not there. There are what we call shawaz, extremely situations which are rare. So those rare situations are there. But even not everywhere. Even when you say not everywhere, sometimes it's by circumstances. For example, in countries where people are crowded. So you have maybe people in villages depend only on buses. So women and men will struggle a lot. But if they have the chance, if there is the chance for them to walk behind the man, they would prefer that. So some circumstances sometimes force women to either walk in front of the men or behind. And it depends. Maybe Those who want to work in front of the men, maybe it depends on where they are. Maybe they're looking for someone, but deep down in their hearts. You know, when psychologists, they do a research, they do it from different perspectives. So for example, the ladies who are here, would you feel comfortable if a man was walking behind you? Not down a dark street. And not even when you are alone. Imagine Musa is alone with that woman and he is walking behind her. So maybe they don't care if it's in a street with full light and many people are there, but still deep down in their subconscious mind, it's better for them to go behind the man. What else do you learn from this? Yeah, actually, when we talk about experts say, I'm not talking about me or about someone else. Experts say that you can't love someone whom you don't know, but you can admire them. You can wish to be with them, but just loving someone whom you have, okay, you can have, because the word love is tricky. And this is one of the reasons when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about love between a husband and wife, He uses the word mawadda. He doesn't use mahabba or hub. So because hub is general, the way you love your father, you love your mother. So for example, I can say, all of you, I love you as my sisters, brothers in Islam. So I don't hate you, I love you. But there is a special love between husband and wife. That special love between husband and wife, Allah refers to it as mawadda. So mawadda, what does it mean? It means attraction. It means care. It means fulfillment, it means love, it means concern. So it's a full package. So when you marry someone, you'll be concerned about them. This is why, again, in the marriage course, when people come, they want to marry, I give them the course, I tell them that when you marry someone, you have to be there for them in all situations. For example, you are a mechanic and your wife is a medical doctor. They gave her an assignment to write a report about contagious diseases in her area. So she comes to you, she's distressed, she doesn't know how to begin or where to begin. She doesn't have the data, she doesn't have statistics. So she tells you, you know what, my manager asked me to write this report. I don't know from where to begin. So if you are not a responsible man, you say, you know, I'm a mechanic, I don't know anything about medicine, how can I help you? But even if you are a mechanic, if you are a responsible man, if you know the meaning of mawadda, you will tell her, you know, I will Google it. Or I will ask my friends, or I will go to a hospital and ask someone. So you prove to her that you care, even if you don't have the knowledge, that you will make the baby steps to help her, and this will make her day. So when she knows that you care, even when you want to be intimate with her, she will be in moods. And sometimes people complain, you know, I want to be intimate with my wife, she tells me she's not in moods. This is one of the reasons. So you have to put her in moods in order to enjoy intimacy with her. So we could say she admired him because of his qualities, but love was not, she loved him as a human being, as a good man, but love between husband and wife, I don't think it was there. But she could have admired him. So what else do you think made Musa? Good morals and etiquette, and also Musa didn't want to embarrass her, because when she came to him she was shy, so he detected that if he walked behind her she would be embarrassed, and because he was a good man she would be afraid to tell him, walk behind me. So he didn't want to embarrass her, so he wanted her to lead from behind. And actually this is another issue. We have to care about the feelings of others. So you've been with a friend for a long time, you know what he likes, what he doesn't like. So make sure you don't embarrass them. Most of the time friends complain about one another. For example, a friend would say, every time I complain to my friend about my problem, he keeps on blaming me. I want from him actually sympathy. I want him to support me, but every time it's your fault, your fault, your fault. So they say, I stopped complaining to him. So we have to read the feelings of others. If, for example, you're working with someone and someone doesn't want interruption while working, you have to understand it. So don't come to him with your problems at home when he's working, yet you know that he doesn't like being interrupted. Many people are not vocal, but some people will tell you indirectly. But still, some people don't get the message. You indirectly tell them, when I'm working, I don't like anyone to interrupt him, but they keep doing that. So yes, you might be kind to them, you might smile, but deep down in your heart you don't like them because of their behavior. So Musa alayhi salam did not want to embarrass this woman because she came from a culture whereby people were conservative, and especially if you were a woman, as the sister said, he didn't want her to be ashamed in the society, people to spread rumors about her. So to save her all that, he decided that she leads from behind. So finally he arrived at their home, the home of that lady, and introduced himself and related to his host his story. After finishing narrating his story, the old man comforted and consoled him, telling him, "La takhaf, najawta min al-qawmi al-zalimin." Have no fear, you've been delivered from the wrongdoing people who are unjust and rebellious. So imagine this man didn't judge Musa alayhi salam. Some people judge you. You were wrong. Why did you do this? Why did you? No, just he gave him assurances that I will try my best to save you from any attack, and you will be comfortable living with me. So what do we learn from this? The man doesn't blame Musa. Why did you do this? Why did you kill a man? Why did you travel alone? Why didn't you do this and that? He listens, he sympathizes with Musa, and then he says, don't worry, you are safe. So what do we learn from this? He consoled and comforted Musa, don't worry, you are safe. What do we learn from it? Maybe he knows. He would have learned from his actions, from the behavior, from the way he helped the girls. So he had a feeling that he would be a prophet, he would be someone special. What else do we learn from this? Don't judge people. So if someone, for example, comes to you, someone is escaping danger, is escaping attack, and they narrate to you a story, don't blame them. Don't judge them. Just comfort them. At this moment, they need comfort. They don't need you to add salt and injury. Because if you blame them, if you criticize them, they become more irritated. They become more hurt. But if you comfort them, you tell them good words, you are consoling them. And this is saying a good word to a believer is one of the meritorious acts of worship in Islam. So by saying something good that will please someone, you are actually worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Shuaib is telling us here, if someone, for example, is fired from the job, if someone is looking for a job, they didn't get it, if, for example, someone was driving recklessly and was given a ticket, so when he or she comes to you crying or they are sad, don't blame them. At this time, just comfort them. So maybe if you want to blame, you don't need directly to blame them, but you can give them directions, give them advice. Or for example, many people do this mistake. So you're doing your job and there is a mistake that you did, and they come and pinpoint the mistake. You don't have to do this, you should do this and that. So you can tell him in an indirect way. First, you have to praise this person. You have to find good qualities in this person to praise him for that. And then you can point out the mistakes, but not directly. You can say, if I were in your shoes, I would do it this way, and I would suggest you do it this way. So at least the person doesn't feel bad, because if you castigate someone, if you criticize someone, especially in public, they will come up with defense mechanisms. So although they know they are wrong, but they want to save face. So let someone save face. So here Shuaib is teaching us a lesson. When someone is distressed, when someone has narrated to you his problems, don't blame them, don't judge them, comfort them, tell them good words, give them assurances. So Shuaib says, La takhaf, najawta min al-qawmi al-zalimin. Have no fear, you've been delivered from the wrongdoing people who are unjust and rebellious. And actually here, he's delivering implicitly a message to Musa that in this community, we are good people, no one will harm you. Number two, I am a powerful person here. I won't allow anyone to harm you. Number three is delivering a message with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing will happen to you. So who was that old man who comforted Musa? Majority of the scholars say it was Shuaib, but when you listen on YouTube, or you might find someone else giving a talk, so you might find some other ideas. So I have to share some of these opinions so that when you hear, at least you are aware of some opinions. So Malik ibn Anas and Al-Hasan al-Basri maintained that he was Shuaib, and this is the most common opinion among the scholars and historians, that the man was Shuaib, who was a prophet himself. It was especially mentioned in one hadith, but its chain of narrators is doubted. So there is a hadith which is weak that says it was Shuaib, but majority of the scholars and historians, they say that man was Shuaib, who later became Musa's father-in-law. Elaborating on the same opinion, some historians opine that Prophet Shuaib lived so long after his people's complete destruction that he met finally with Musa alayhi salam and married off his daughter to him. So Shuaib lived a long time, many years, and he met with Musa eventually, and Musa married his daughter. It was also said that the old man was not Shuaib but his cousin. Others opine that the old man was Shuaib's nephew. These are just opinions. Other historians contended that he was a believer among the people of Prophet Shuaib. So among the followers of Shuaib, that believer was the one who invited Musa to his house. According to the scriptures, the people of the book said his name was Jethron, who was the chief priest of Midian and the most knowledgeable man among the people over there. So we can, for so many reasons, scholars say it was Shuaib, because first of all, Musa is going to be a prophet. So a prophet cannot work for someone who is less than him. So imagine Musa will be a prophet and he works for a common person 8 years, 10 years, and he marries the daughter of that person. That person will be looking down upon him. He will say, you know, you claim you're a prophet, I'm better than you, I fed you, I gave you this and that. Number one. Number two, in that area, many people had been destroyed. They were idol worshippers of the Aika, a tree, as we said before. So it would be very difficult to find a man who was in the caliber of Shuaib, who knew about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who would reward someone who did something good to his daughters. And number three, to say that it was Shuaib, because the way Shuaib acted, he showed all the signs of the prophet and messenger. So scholars say it was Shuaib, a prophet himself, who hosted Musa. On top of that, he gave his daughter in marriage to Musa alayhi salam. Yeah, he wasn't a prophet yet.
Okay, so if he is not a prophet at that time, he will work for anyone at that time, right?
Yeah, he wasn't a prophet for that at that time. He would work for anyone. But you know what? Psychologically, if someone employs you today, or if someone mentors you, if someone is your teacher, even if you become a president, deep down in his mind, he will still look down upon you.
Okay,
He would.
about Prophet Muhammad?
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
When he was with his uncle, was he not working for his uncle?
Yeah, he was helping. It was not a condition that you work, I give you food. He was helping. And actually, even when the Prophet ﷺ in a hadith that he was tending sheep and goats, the main aim for him was to get out of the town. And as when we were talking about the life of the Prophet ﷺ, we said one of the reasons for him to be there in the desert, he was distressed. He didn't like the practices of the people in Mecca, what they were doing, so he isolated himself. So he was tending sheep and goats, not because he was looking for livelihood, not because he was working for someone, but because he wanted to meditate. He wanted to ponder over the situation. He wanted to be alone, looking for guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so he was not like, okay, I have employed you, you have to serve me for 10 years, 20 years, then I'll give you this and that. It wasn't that way. So a woman asked her father to employ Musa. After Moses was generously received and entertained with honor, one of the two women said to her father, my dear father, hire him. Basically, she asked her father to employ Musa in order to look after their flocks of sheep and goats, as well as doing other chores, justifying her request by stating that he was strong and trustworthy. And actually, there is a quote here that I would like to share with you before I continue. The quote says, I don't trust words, I trust actions. So Musa alayhi salam proved that he was trustworthy man by the actions. And this lady had experienced Musa's trust when she was working with him. So she told her father, she asked him to employ Musa because he was strong and trustworthy. So Umar ibn al-Khattab, Ibn Abbas and many other scholars and historians said, when the old man's daughter asked him to employ Musa, he asked her, how do you know that? So she told him, he is strong and trustworthy. So the father asked her, how did you know that? She replied, he lifted a rock which no less than 10 men could lift. And when I led him home, being in front of him, he said, go behind me. When you have to change the path, then just throw a pebble on that path and I will know which direction to take. So what do you understand from this? So she says, employ him, he's strong and trustworthy. The father becomes curious. How did you know that he's strong and trustworthy? So she's narrating to him the story, how he lifted a stone lid which required 10 men to lift, and when they were walking, he was walking in front of her. What do we learn from this? There are many lessons that we learn from this. Yeah, his actions. Yes, so because he behaved the way he behaved for the sake of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was rewarded here on earth. Now, he's going to get shelter, he will get food, he will get a wife, and when he leaves to go back to Egypt, he was given some flock of sheep. Although the agreement was to serve his father-in-law for 8 years, Musa completed 10. And when he went, of course, the agreement was, you serve me, then I marry off my daughter to you. So the mahar, the dowry, was to serve the man. But the man, because he saw he was impressed by Musa, after giving him his daughter in marriage, he also gave him some flock of sheep. So this is a sign to us, or this is a lesson to us, that if you are sincere in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't have ulterior motives, you'll benefit here on earth and in the hereafter like Musa and others benefited. This is one. What other lessons do you get from this? So the woman is describing Musa, he's asking her father to hire him, and she says he's strong and trustworthy. The father is asking, how did you know that? There are many lessons we get here as parents, especially if you have girls in your house. Yes, sister.
The father is then that he asked him marriage his daughter.
So maybe he knew that his daughter admired Musa because of his qualities, so he wanted more information so that he can accept the marriage proposal. Or also that he can propose to Musa to marry her. What else? Yes, sister? So she was confiding in her father, so she talked freely to the father. So as parents, we should create some sort of confidence between us and our children, so the communication shouldn't have barriers. We have to be somehow free, restricted, somehow freedom to talk freely to our children, especially girls, to know what their worries are, their concerns are. And actually this is a big mistake that some parents do, especially when dealing with adolescents. They just want to force them, do this, but they don't listen to them. So they need someone to listen to them, to understand them, to know that they behave how they behave because of some reasons. So you have to find out those reasons, and you can do that by communicating with them. Communication is very important. What else? Yes, sister?
I think there is a lesson here for men. Men, they are merciful and kind to women. That woman will like them.
So if you are merciful and kind to a woman, she will like you. But it depends. In some cultures, they are materialistic. Yeah, they need it. Even if you're kind, if someone who has money comes, he will take her. Yeah, but yeah, as a principle, yes, you have to be kind and merciful to women, then they will like us. Another lesson that we learn here, and actually, sometimes I get surprised. I know some people, the daughters are not working. The daughter goes and buys a computer, for example, a laptop worth 400 KD. And the father doesn't ask, from where did you get the money? She buys a mobile 200 KD. She's not working. And the father didn't give her the money. And the father isn't asking, from where did you get the money? Wife is not working. He's buying everything at home. The money is working. She didn't ask him to give her money. He doesn't ask. Is it right? No, you have to ask. You have to know from where your daughter is getting the money, especially if she's not working. So Shuaib is teaching us a lesson here that if you see something strange, if your son, if your son or daughter brings something which is expensive, ask them from where they got the money. If you don't ask them, you are condoning what they are doing. You will come to find out later that they were playing dirty games when it will be too late. So you have to nip it in the bud, to stop the bad behavior from the beginning. So when they know that you will keep asking questions, this will restrain them. And this is a lesson we get from Shuaib alayhi salam. What else do you learn from this? How did you know that? You know, Shuaib doesn't just want to capitalize on impressions. Yes, impressions are good, but he wants justification because he is going to employ the man, and the man is going to be with him and two daughters. So he doesn't want to bring someone who, instead of helping, he will bring problems. We've heard of situations whereby someone adopts a boy, he keeps him in his house as his son, but finally problems happen. The same boy becomes a man and he elopes with one's daughter, or he commits mischief in the house. So Shuaib wants to make sure that the person who is coming to live in his house is a trustworthy person. He doesn't want impressions or feelings, he wants facts. So he's asking for facts here. And again, there is something here we learn about employing someone. So basically, his daughter was asking him to employ her, and she says he's trustworthy and strong, and he says, how did you know that? So in the employment sector, what do we learn from this? Yes? Yeah, he trusted her judgment. So he just wanted her to give him facts, then he trusted her because she is the one who saw him and dealt with him when walking. What else? Recommendation. So his recommendation were his good acts, not because he's from so and he's friend of so and so. So you need to qualify, you need to have the skills. So Musa had the skills, and the father wanted to know exactly how did his daughter know about the strength and trustworthiness of Musa alayhi salam. What else? What else do you learn from this in the employment sector? So if, for example, you are a manager, a CEO, you have HR, and he recommends someone that she is good, this and that, ask for facts. So if she's excellent, what did she do? What qualified her to do this? So how did you reach this conclusion? So you need to ask such questions, because sometimes people just recommend others because they're friends, because they like them, and in some societies because they paid a bribe. In some places, to be employed you need to pay bribe. So you pay a bribe to someone who is closer to the manager, he goes and recommends you. The manager, because he trusts him, they employ you, yet he doesn't know that this person took bribe. So Shuaib is teaching us a lesson here, that if someone praises someone in front of you, especially if you want to employ the person, they have to justify it by giving you facts. So Ibn Ishaq, Ibn Masood, Abdullah bin Masood. Abdullah bin Masood was one of the bona fide companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and he dedicated his life to serving the Prophet ﷺ. He memorized the Quran, and he was beaten several times because of reciting the Quran in front of the Muslims. So when the polytheists heard him recite the Quran, they were threatened, they beat him up, and the Prophet told him, don't threaten your life. He insisted on reading it again and again. And Abdullah ibn Masood, one day, he was climbing a tree to bring some dates for the Prophet ﷺ, and some companions of the Prophet saw his tiny legs, and they laughed at him. So the Prophet ﷺ castigated them. He said, do you laugh because his legs are tiny? I swear by Allah, if his legs are put on a scale, on one pan of the scale, and Mount Uhud is placed on the other pan of the scale, they would be heavier than Mount Uhud. So it's not about the looks, not about the body, it's about the acts of this person. So Abdullah ibn Masood said, these are his words, Abdullah ibn Masood, أفرس الناس ثلاثة العزيز حين قال لامرأته أكرمي مثواه عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا والتي قالت يا أبت استأجره إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين وأبو بكر حين تفرس في عمر. So the translation is, Ibn Ishaq narrated from Abu Ubaidah that Ibn Masood said, the most insightful people are three. The high minister of Egypt who bought Yusuf, when he told his wife, make his residence comfortable, perhaps he will benefit us, or we will adopt him as a son. And the lady who told her father, oh my father, hire him. Indeed, the best person you can hire is a strong and trustworthy person like him. And Abu Bakr, when he appointed Umar to be his successor. So Abu Bakr, before he died, he appointed Umar, he chose him to be his successor. So Abdullah bin Masood says, these three people were very insightful. So what do we learn from this? Three insightful people. I think someone is charging the mobile. Anyone charging it? Anyone who forgot a mobile here? Mobile phone? So what do we learn from this? The insightful people. The high minister of Egypt, you remember the story of Yusuf? When he ended up in the palace of the high minister, and the high minister told his wife, treat him well, let him live comfortable, he will benefit us, and we will adopt him as a son. So he was insightful. And the daughter of Musa, the daughter of Shuaib, when she told her father to employ Musa because he is trustworthy and strong. And Abu Bakr, when he appointed Umar to be his successor. What do we learn from this? They had the ability of choosing qualified people. Not only the ability, they were also honest. You know, some people know they have the insight of knowing who is right, who is wrong, but because of ulterior motives, they avoid appointing this person. Either they are threatened by this person that if he is employed, maybe he will take their position, or maybe because they know this is a sincere person, he won't play the games, he will not pander to their whims and desires. So there are so many reasons why people, they know you are qualified for the job, you are a good person, but because of some ulterior motives, they don't employ you. But Al-Aziz, the High Minister of Egypt, he was sincere. So he knew the qualities of Yusuf. He went ahead and instructed his wife to treat him well. And this lady, when she told her father that he's strong and trustworthy, so she would have felt shy, she would have feared maybe her father will ask her a lot of questions. How did you say that? Maybe you did something when you came with him. So she wasn't afraid. She told the truth, and she recognized while working, she didn't need a long time. You know, sometimes we say, for example, someone wants to marry someone, and they say, we will do a background search upon you. They take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, researching on someone who is going to marry her or to marry him. But what happens after exhausting your efforts, doing a research on someone, you marry him after 2 months, 3 months, divorce. This is why we say, first pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Salatul Istikhara. Then do your research. Your research alone isn't enough. Human beings are dangerous. They can pretend in so many ways. So here, Ibn Masood is telling us that those three people had the intuition, knew how to choose people. Within a short period of time, they would know that this person is qualified. And they were sincere in choosing people whom they recommended for some positions. What else do you learn from this? The statement of Abdullah ibn Masood about the High Minister of Egypt, who told his wife to take care of Yusuf. He would benefit them in the future, and indeed Yusuf did benefit them and the country. And this lady who told her father to employ Musa is strong and trustworthy, and actually Musa proved to be strong and trustworthy more than even they expected. And Abu Bakr, when he picked Omar to be his successor, and actually the companions of the Prophet unanimously agreed upon Omar as their leader, and indeed Umar led them well. So we understand from here that intuition isn't enough, but you have to be sincere. If you feel in your heart that someone is qualified for the job, keep aside your ulterior motives. Go ahead. And if you do that, you will be successful, he will be successful, and you will get rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the old man offers one of his daughters in marriage to Musa. Now he's convinced. He's already talked to Musa. Musa explained his situation. So he's impressed now even more than before seeing him. And now he's offering his daughter. So Musa didn't ask for her hand. It's her father who offered her to him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَالَ إِنِّي أُرِيدُ أَنْ أُنْئِحَكَ إِحْدَى ابْنَتَيَّ هَاتَيْنِ عَلَىٰ أَنْ تَأْجُرَنِ ثَمَانِيَ حِجَجٍ فَإِنْ أَتْمَمْتَ عَشَرًا فَمِنْ عِنْدِكَ وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَشُقَّ عَلَيْكَ سَتَجِدُنِي إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. So the father said, I wish to marry off to you one of these daughters of mine, provided you accept to be hired to serve me for 8 years. And should you decide to complete 10 years, then it shall be of your own free will. Nor do I desire to bring hardship upon you. You shall find me, if Allah so wills, to be one of the righteous people. So the man here is offering his daughter in marriage to Musa alayhi salam. What do we learn from this?
Yes, I want to ask a question. Why didn't he just give the girl to Musa without giving him conditions?
Yes. Any answers before I answer? She says, why didn't he just propose to Musa to marry his daughter without Musa serving him for 8 years? Yes?
I think he wanted to justify the daughter's statement about
He wanted to justify, because the daughter said Musa was strong and trustworthy. He wanted to prove it within those 8 and 10 years to make sure that Musa was really trustworthy and Musa was really strong. What else? Yes, Udayfa? So that Musa proves he would be serious in marrying her. So imagine, yes, is to make sure that Musa doesn't take her for granted. You know, sometimes it so happens, I have had this complaint. Some ladies especially, they come from religious families. The father was religious, he was impressed by a man, and he allowed the man to marry his daughter without paying anything. So if anything goes wrong, the man says, you see, your father knew that you are worthless. This is why he didn't ask for dowry, because he knew deep down in his heart. So imagine this man, he has a daughter, and he gives her to Musa without anything. How would Musa feel? And actually, you know, when we will be talking about answering, clearing some doubts about Islam in Ramadan, one of the things that we will talk about, the reasons why in Islam a man has to pay dowry when he marries. Actually, it's compulsory. The judge will not solemnize the marriage until you pay the dowry. One of the reasons is that men altogether, according to research, they value money. They want to make money. They have a strong desire to make money in order to please the women. Like a hunter before, who would hunt in order to bring food on the table to enjoy it with his wife. So any decision regarding money, the man will think twice. Women also have the desire to amass wealth, but it's not as strong as the man's desire. So when you ask a man to pay money to marry someone, this is a proof that he's interested in her. This is a proof that he is serious. And actually, dowry is not in monetary terms. It could be money, it could be a ring, it could be a honeymoon, it could be a vacation, it could be a house, it could be serving the father for 8, 10 years. And actually, one of the reasons Musa needed accommodation. So he's in a strange land. You don't have anyone. So someone wants you to serve him at the same time for you to get accommodation, to get food. So it was also in favor of Musa alayhi salam, because he was a stranger. And based on his story, how he narrated it, if someone wasn't a positive person, if someone wasn't a believer, they would have doubted his intentions. So imagine someone is running and comes to your house and says, I killed someone by mistake. Especially in the world in which we are, or especially if you are in an area where it's infested with criminals. Someone comes to you and says, I killed someone by mistake, a stranger. Would you give them accommodation? Would you allow them to stay in your house? Would you even give them the chance to talk to you 40 minutes? Someone who said he killed? So you need to be a great person. So Shuaib was a great person, and it was difficult to get such a person. So dowry shows seriousness. If really the man is serious to give worth to the woman that he's going to marry. And actually, another reason is, so for example, if someone paid a dowry of 10,000 KD to marry a woman, and then when he marries her, she turns out to be below his expectations. So he expected her to be this, after paying that much, she's this. But because he paid money, he will say, okay, if I will divorce her, I need to pay another 10,000 KD to marry another one, and maybe she will be worse than this. Let us reconcile. So this will force you to make amends, to reconcile with one another. Because the institution of marriage is very important in Islam, and if you're happily married on earth, if you're believers, both of you will still be married in paradise. So, not to take her for granted, he had to serve Shuaib, to have accommodation, for Shuaib to make sure that this man was really qualified to be my son-in-law. Number 4, to value the woman, and also the woman herself, to see if she wanted to continue, if she wanted to marry the man. Because if he served them for 8-10 years, she would have seen him in different aspects. Because when you see someone in 1 day, 2 days, you tend to have a good impression about the person. But when you live with them under one roof, this is when you get to know them in detail. You know, Umar ibn al-Khattab, karramallahu wajha, radiallahu anhu, whenever you praised someone in front of him, he would ask you 3 questions. Does anyone remember these 3 questions? Did you travel with him? So you say no. Did you deal with him in any business transaction? You say no. Number 3? No, there is. The first question was, did you travel with him? Did you deal with him in business? Number 3, did you entrust him with anything? Did you entrust him with any property? So if you say no, 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 he says, keep quiet, you don't know him. So when you travel with a person, this is when you see the true colors of this person. There is a time when I performed the Umrah with a man who was religious. Every time, subhanallah, subhanallah. But because we were delayed, imagine we were going to perform Umrah, we were going to supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was cursing the people who were delaying us. Yet you have to be patient. So traveling with a person, dealing with him in business, and entrusting them with your property. So this will prove that this person is really trustworthy. So Shuaib wanted to prove, because he had only 2 daughters, he didn't have any more. And in that society, people were careful when dealing with the women. And actually, it would be a scandal if, for example, a woman was found moving with a stranger. So it's very important to give dowry. This is a huge topic. We can even spend 2 hours talking about the reasons why in Islam you have to pay dowry. And we'll be talking about that in Ramadan. Answering some doubts, because some enemies of Islam always criticize Muslims that, Muslims don't value women, they have to pay dowry when they marry. Ironically, there are some societies, even now in the 21st century, it's the woman who pays dowry to marry the man. So why don't they complain that the women are buying the men? And it becomes even worse. So if, for example, a woman proposed to marry a man, she agreed to pay the dowry to the man, and she says, I will pay half this month, and next month I will pay the other half. If she delays, sometimes they attack her with acid. You research it. So, have you ever heard of acid attacks in some countries on women? Yeah, one of the reasons is this, procrastinating on paying the dowry. But because they are not Muslims, you don't always hear them on media. So we'll be talking about that. So all in all, it was in favor of Musa, in favor of Shuaib, in favor of the woman for Musa to serve them for 8. And actually he completed. Instead of 8, they were 10 years. Yes, you can do that. Dowry is not only in for example, I know a lady, someone wanted to marry her, and she told him, my dowry will be to sponsor me to go for my master's degrees in Scotland. So he agreed in front of the judge, he signed an agreement, he will pay for her education until she obtains a master's degree in Scotland. Subhanallah, after obtaining her master's degree in Scotland, she lived for 2 years, and the husband died, leaving her with a kid. Now she's employed based on that master's degree. It's helping her, helping the kid of the husband who died. So there are many ways of paying dowry, not only money. Sometimes even during the time of the Prophet, someone would recite some verses of the Quran, and that was dowry. So I think I will end with 2 slides. So the Hanbali school of Islamic legal thought deduced from the verse above that it's allowed to employ someone in exchange for food and clothes. So this school of Islamic thought, they say you can employ someone and the salary will be food and clothes. They supported their opinion by a hadith which is narrated by Ibn Majah, entitled the chapter of employing one for food. But there should be an agreement between you and the person. So it has to be stated clearly that you will work for me in exchange for food and clothes and maybe house. So it has to be stated. But don't agree with someone, I will pay you this much, and then you come and stay 2, 3, 4 months, you don't give them the salary, and when they demand their salary, you tell them, are you not sleeping? Are you not eating? Are you not doing this? No, you have to enter into this agreement from the beginning. The person has to know. On the other hand, Ali ibn Rabah said that he heard Utbah bin Nadar say, we were sitting near the Prophet ﷺ, he recited Surah Ta-Sin Mim, and when he reached the story of Moses, he said, the Prophet said, when he reached the story of Moses in that surah, which is Surah Al-Shu'ara, he said, إن موسى صلى الله عليه وسلم آجر نفسه 8 سنين أو 10 على عفة فرجه وطعام بطنه. Now this hadith is weak. It's classified by Al-Albani as weak. But unfortunately, I have heard many people quote this hadith on YouTube. I've had many videos, people quote this hadith, and I said I will share it with you to caution you that it's a weak hadith, da'if. There are many ways to tell that a hadith is da'if, from the content and from the chain of narrators. So the translation is, we were with the Messenger of Allah. Utbah ibn al-Salam said, we were with the Messenger of Allah when he recited Ta-Sin Mim, which is Surah Shu'ara, Surah number 26. And when he reached the story of Musa, he said Musa got employed for 8 years or 10 years in order to preserve his chastity and to get food for himself. Now, first of all, did Musa himself go to Shuaib and say, I want to marry your daughter? Or the daughter of Shuaib, Shuaib is the one who offered his daughter? It wasn't Musa. Number two, did Musa tell him that, I want food? So it's a weak hadith. If you hear it anywhere, either on YouTube or someone is giving khutbah, you know very well that it's a weak hadith. Yes, Musa served Shuaib for 10 years. The agreement was 8, but Musa willingly, he himself completed 10. And we will be talking about the reasons for that. So Musa himself, he said, no, I will serve you more. You wanted 8, I will serve you more 2 years. So any questions, any comments? Yes. Yeah, of course, being a prophet, of course, he talked to her. Yeah, according to Islam, you cannot force your daughter into marriage without her consent. This is against Islam. And actually, one lady was forced by her father. She went to the Prophet ﷺ, she was complaining. The Prophet ﷺ told her, your father doesn't have to force you. But because that girl loved her father, she said, okay, I love my father, I will marry the man. But the Prophet ﷺ had objected for the father to force his daughter to marry someone whom she doesn't like. So they have to consult with the daughter. Yes.
For example, Musa came from Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
According to his background, is it recommended that if a street man comes to ask for your daughter, or before giving your daughter to a street man you don't know anything about, is it okay to give your husband and your daughter to
first of all, Shuaib was a prophet. And what the prophets see, we common people we don't see. And actually, according to Islam, dreams of prophets are reality. When a prophet dreams something, it's reality. So being a prophet, and when he listened to Musa, the story how it goes from the beginning up to the end, he knew that this was a righteous person. For us, we don't have this knowledge. In that world, we didn't have the corruption that we have nowadays. Nowadays, people are dating on internet. I have a case right now whereby one of the sisters came to me and said, so and so from such and such a country wants to marry my sister. And they asked for the number of the man. It turned out he wasn't whom he was. He was a scammer. So because the sister of the lady was rich, so the man wanted to play games. So today in the world in which we are, yes, you need to do a background check. But first pray to Allah. So pray to Allah, Salatul Istikhara, Qiyamul Layl, Allah to show you the way. Because Allah knows everything. If you pray to Allah first and do your research, Allah will make it easy. Don't just depend on your background check. Pray to Allah first. So it's very important. Of course, he used to get news. As a prophet, he used to know what was going on. Pharaoh, what was going on, because he had lived for a long time. And he himself, his own people, the people of the Aika who were worshipping the thicket, they were destroyed in front of his eyes. So he knew what was going on. Any other questions or comments? Any questions? Okay, that's a very good question. So the question is, yes, did he marry? Will anyone answer before I answer? Did he work for 8 years first, then he married? Or he married, then he worked for 10 years? So the condition was, I will marry off my daughter to you on condition that you work for 8 years. So all those 8 years he was married. So the agreement was, I will give her to you, but you work for me 8 years. So he married her. Yeah. One of the reasons he found out she was very good, he was impressed and he completed 10. Instead of 8, 10. He liked her, he liked the father, the environment. He said, no, I'll complete the other 2 years. I'm happy with you guys. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Jazakumullah khair. See you inshallah on Monday.